What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the very busy day that was today in the NBA, the night before the NBA draft, which is usually a pretty hectic time because it's towards the start of free agency. Guys are declining their options, picking up their options, and then we obviously have the draft tomorrow with Wemby expected to be the #1 pick and guys like Brandon Miller and Scoot Henderson looking to follow him. But today was really a crazy day in the NBA, mainly because of a trade involving the Celtics and multiple teams. So initially, the first trade that was reported today was that Boston was going to trade for Kristaps Porzingis from the Washington Wizards in a 3-team deal that involved obviously Boston, obviously the Wizards, and then the Clippers were the third team that was involved in the first edition of this trade. It was really the trade that was, that wasn't, and then that was again. So in this trade, Boston was going to be getting Porzingis. The Wizards were going to get Marcus Morris and draft compensation from the Clippers. Keep in mind, a rumor came out a few days ago that Marcus Morris was unhappy with his role on the team. So him being in that trade was not surprising initially. And then the Clippers were going to get Malcolm Brogdon from the Celtics as a part of the trade. So that was a 3-team trade. Malcolm Brogdon just won 6th Man of the Year. Very good player. Would have been a very great fit for the Clippers, I feel like, coming off the bench if they decided to keep Russell Westbrook or if they decided to move on from Westbrook, inserting him into that starting lineup. Anywho, this is a great trade, and we're all thinking the Celtics are going to be very good next year with Porzingis being that new power forward in their front court who can shoot the three, so he fits their system. He can shoot threes, and he can put the ball on the floor, handle it in the mid-range. He has a very good mid to low post game too, a guy who can handle the ball down low. And it was looking like a blockbuster trade just went down, and then a few hours later we find out that the trade falls through, and that's because the Clippers were skeptical about Malcolm Brogdon's health. He was injured throughout the playoffs, and the Clippers were like, we don't know about Brogdon's status, so we're pulling out of the trade. And then the entire trade fell through. But Kristaps Porzingis is still going to the Celtics because there is a new 3-team trade that was conducted where the Celtics got Kristaps Porzingis, the Wizards got Tyus Jones from the Memphis Grizzlies, and the Grizzlies got Marcus Smart from Boston. And in addition to Marcus Smart going to the Grizzlies sent Boston 2 first-round picks, a first-round pick in this year's draft and next year's draft. So basically, the Celtics got Kristaps Porzingis for Marcus Smart and 2 first-round draft picks, which I honestly think is a better deal than what they were initially going to get for him, or what they initially had to give up to get him, because they give up Marcus Smart. And between Malcolm Brogdon and Marcus Smart, I definitely think Malcolm Brogdon, when healthy, is the better and more impactful player. Yes, Marcus Smart is a former Defensive Player of the Year winner, but I think what Brogdon brings to the table in terms of distribution, shooting, and just running an offense, I think he is the better player. And when you look at what the Celtics have going into next year, they keep Brogdon. Tatum's obviously there. Jaylen Brown's likely going to re-sign. Al Horford's still there. You now have Porzingis. This is a team that is going to be loaded going into next year. And I should also mention that the Wizards also did receive Mike Muscala and Danilo Gallinari in the trade as well. So Gallinari never even dribbled a basketball for the Celtics because he was out the whole season with the torn ACL. But I just think this trade, Boston obviously still wants to go all in, trying to capitalize on this championship window. And when you look at them on paper, I don't see how they're not the best team in the East on paper currently. Even though, respect to the Miami Heat, they just went to the finals, played a tough series, lost to Denver in 5. But I don't think, as presently constructed, Miami is going to be making that kind of noise again next year. But when you look at what Boston has, I still think they have everything. Yes, Marcus Smart was a huge loss for them because he brought intensity and defense into that core. But when you look at what they have in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, 2 dynamic wing scorers, like I said earlier, a forward in Porzingis who can score at all 3 levels. You still have Al Horford. This team is perfectly suited to win the East again. And I honestly think they're at a point where I don't know what excuses we can make for the Celtics, barring injury, of course, if they don't make the finals, because they make the finals in 2022. You get to beat a Bucks team that was missing Chris Middleton. You go to the finals and you can't capitalize. You lose to the Warriors in 6. And this year, you're the second seed in the East, but really looked like the best team in the NBA consistently throughout the regular season. And then you find yourselves down 3-0 to the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. And really, they'd been shaky the entire playoffs. The Hawks got 2 games off of them in round 1. And in the second round against the Sixers, it went 7 games. That series should not have gone 7 games. And they couldn't complete the comeback against the Heat. They get embarrassed in Game 7 on their home floor, even though Jason Tatum did get hurt. I'm not sure they were going to win that game anyway, based off of how it was looking. But yeah, man, it's pressure time for the Celtics because I still think they have everything they need to contend for a title and win the East. So I am very excited to see how this Porzingis experiment is going to work out. Like I said, I think he's a fit for the team as long as he can stay healthy and they can play a brand of basketball that is able to utilize all of his strengths, because he's not just a three-point shooter. I already listed all his skill sets. I'm not going to do it again. He's a very versatile player. So, huge trade for the Celtics. And then I guess when you look at this from the Grizzlies' perspective, they're getting that veteran presence with Marcus Smart, because the Grizzlies have been one of the best young teams in the NBA over the last few years. But it's been proven that they're not mature enough to compete in the playoffs and go deep into the playoffs. This year, they were the 2 seed and they lost in the first round to a 7th seed Lakers. The year before, they were a 2 seed again, and then they lost in the second round to the Warriors, who went on to win the title, even though they were missing John Morant. And then the year before, they had made very good progress getting into the play-in tournament, beating the Warriors in the play-in tournament, and then losing in the first round. So the Grizzlies have kind of been knocking on the door over the last few years. They just have so many question marks surrounding their team with their maturity. Is Dylan Brooks going to be this year? Remember, is Dylan Brooks going to be there next year? That's one of their questions. Shams reported that the Grizzlies are basically done with Dylan Brooks and they're looking to move on from him. He reported that pretty quickly after they got eliminated by the Lakers. So we don't know if he's still going to be there next year. John Morant is going to miss basically a third of the season after getting a 25-game suspension for his second incident with flashing a gun on Instagram Live. So how are the Grizzlies going to stay afloat when he's out? I definitely think Marcus Smart is an upgrade. He brings defense, and he's been getting better at offense as the years have gone by, adding to his game. And he's going to frustrate some teams in the West. The West has a lot of guards. Devin Booker, Steph Curry, Paul George, a wing player. They got guys like Jamal Murray, who just won his first championship. A lot of very good guards in the West that Marcus Smart is going to have an opportunity to match up against and showcase what he can do. I'm looking forward to those Marcus Smart, LeBron James matchups, if we can get any of those this season. And I said the Celtics were a team that is going to face a lot of pressure next year in terms of making the finals. Let's switch the subject to the Phoenix Suns, who made a huge trade this past week in acquiring Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal has proven to be one of the best perimeter scorers in the league in his heyday. Not in his heyday, but a few years ago when he was consistently playing, he was averaging around 30 points per game. If you remember in 2021, he was battling Steph Curry for the scoring title. Curry eventually won that title, but Bradley Beal can score. There's no doubt about that. And when you add him to a team that has Devin Booker and Kevin Durant already there, and they've shown that they're a good duo, the Suns are going to be scoring a lot of points this year, and they still have DeAndre Ayton. But I still think there's a ton of pressure on the Suns to make the finals. I think the Suns and the Celtics have the most pressure out of any two teams going into next year. If I were to say early on who has the most pressure on them, there's no reason why, barring injury, it shouldn't be Suns and Celtics in the finals. And then an argument to be made for why the Suns can't make the finals: oh, they don't have a bench, oh, they don't have a true point guard. I would give them that out, except they ignored that. They ignored the problems that cost them against the Nuggets, and they decided to go all in and get another superstar in Bradley Beal. So they're banking on the fact that with star power, and they're banking on the fact that these guys aren't going to get injured as well, that they can advance through the Western Conference and make it to the finals. Are they going to do that? We'll have to see. But they're in a similar position as the Celtics, where I really don't think they have any excuses not to make the finals with the type of star power that they have. And then just to quickly wrap up this video, talking about, I guess, the Wizards, because dominoes are falling in Washington. Bradley Beal is gone. Kristaps Porzingis is gone. They completely revamped their management. They have a new president and GM who's calling the shots there now. Kyle Kuzma declined his player option today, so he is going to be a free agent. Will he return to the Wizards? I'm not sure. They have Chris Paul there. I'm not sure he's going to be there next year, at least not for long. So the Wizards are heading for a rebuild, and over the last decade or so, they were one of those teams that gave us some, good memories going to the playoffs with the days with John Wall, Bradley Beal. When John Wall got injured and he was going out of his prime, that's when the Wizards slowly started falling into that poverty franchise status because he never really recovered from that. Bradley Beal suffered some injury problems of his own. So when I just look at the state of the Wizards and what they are, they're going into a rebuild mode. And so drafting is going to be important for them. I'm not sure how they're going to be able to do in terms of signing free agents, getting them to come to Washington, but I'm just glad the Wizards are embracing this rebuild. Get whatever you can, I guess, for these guys because they're great players. And we'll see in a few years how the Wizards are able to rebuild their roster and start getting into playoff contention again. And then just really one other point to wrap up this video. The NBA draft is tomorrow, and I think it's a really big day because of Victor Wembanyama being the number 1 pick. And when you just look at the hype that he's gotten throughout his playing days in France and all the lead up to the draft. I was born in 2003. LeBron was drafted the year I was born. So I wasn't there for all the hype that LeBron was getting coming out of high school in Ohio. And so it's a huge deal that Victor Wembanyama is going to officially become the number 1 pick because all eyes are on him. And people are saying, you got guys like Chris Broussard saying if he has a career like Kevin Durant, like Hakeem Olajuwon, that is a failure. As a number 1 pick, those guys are top 20 players of all time. And you got some people out here believing that if that's all he is, he's a failure. And that's an insane amount of pressure to put on a young draft prospect with all the stuff these guys are dealing with nowadays with social media, everything that's just going on. And so I'm very excited for the draft tomorrow to see Wemby get picked number 1 overall, and I think he's going to live up to the hype. I don't know how good he's going to be. I don't know if he's going to be LeBron James level, live up to the hype, 4-time champion. Will he be the scoring leader one day? I don't think he'll play that long or get near that record. I don't know who's going to even have a chance to break LeBron's scoring record. I don't even know if that's even possible. But yeah, let me know what your guys' thoughts are on the draft, this Porzingis trade, how the first one fell through. What do you guys think about the Grizzlies, the Wizards, the Clippers backing out, a bunch of different stuff going on? Let me know what you guys think about the Suns and acquiring Bradley Beal. How much pressure is on them to make the finals? Thanks for watching this video. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and make sure to find the rest of my content linked in the description.